Okay, picking back up on Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. You know the drill by now. At the grove, I stepped through the last remaining door, a green four-leaf clover, etched and painted into the tree, the color of the graveyard fence. My last hope. When I step through the doorway, I find myself in a small forest, trees stunted and short, with the air smell of moss and mint. Surely the surrounding trees I've noticed. Surveying the surrounding trees, I noticed several paths leading away from the grove, heading in different directions. Unlike the other holiday realms where a single path leads to the town, where there are many without pathways, signs, or markings, I find no way to know which path is the right one, but with no time to waste, I choose a path at random and start off into the woods. The path takes me along a cold, rocky stream. Then up a hillock, and down against until the last unexplainable. I find myself back in the grove of 7 trees, right where I started. I blow out a breath, forehead stained, irritated. Then I start down another path because I don't have a choice. I follow it through a den path of hissing cattails. Hissing cattail reeds. Over a rocky wall that might have once been a fence lined, and then impossibly it leads me right back to the grove, back to the beginning, as if I'm caught in an endless, maddening loop. Quickly, I survey the other paths, the ones that I can't talk. Paths, the ones that I haven't taken, but I begin to wonder if this is some kind of trick. No way to deter unintended guests, to keep them from finding the town. The sun is still high in the sky, a wall of rain clouds in the distance, but I decide to abandon the path altogether, instead choosing to follow the long finger-like shadows cast down the tree by the trees. In Halloween Town, it's said that if you're ever lost, you should follow your own shadow. It will always take you back where you need to go. I push my hands into the pockets of my dress, lift by chin, feeling the seams along my neck tense, and step away from the grove, making another trail through the thick underbrush and thorny leaves. I leave my lean shadow across the ground, down a long slope hillside, across a grassy valley that smells of mint and hops, until through the glittering sunlight I see it, a town tucked into the shallow end of the long valley, surrounded by green fields. I race through the tall grass, licking at my exposed legs until I reach a golden hued gate, and I tilt my head up to read the sign. St. Patrick's Town. I found it. I glance down at my shadow, nodding, and then I hurry up the meadows, up the narrow main street, where tiny thatched roof houses made of loam and gathered twigs clustered to each side, pressed in close. Strangely, the doorways are half the size too small for me to step inside. Instead, I crouch down and peer through gay glazed windows to see small kitchens and ministry tea kettles, squirrel beds, unmade biscuits burning in the stove left on. The small glimmer of hope I felt when I found the town quickly darkened when I find a small red-bearded man with rosy cheeks, woman asleep inside tiny coffees and tubs. Tubes. Pubs. Tiny pubs. Pints undrunk, green tea unsipped. I found curly-haired babies resting in wooden moss-made cribs. I'm too late, I say softly to myself as I reach the end of the narrow and tiny woodland structure, and I pass my palm to my eyes to keep the tears from falling. There is no one left awake, no one left awake, no one who can help me. I drop my hands and squat up at the pale, glistening sky. Maybe I should return to Halloween Town, walk into the town square, and wait for the creature to find me. And when he does, arms outstretched with a fistful of sand, I won't flinch. I won't run away. I will close my eyes and feel the cloud of sand rain down over me, letting everything go dark, nothing but the dark. I will sleep like the others, like Jack, and I won't be alone anymore. Jack, at that thought of him, my unshed tears at last breaking through my eyelids, wet and cold, and I don't wipe them away. I let the weight of it all sink over me. The awful, cruel pain, the knowing guilt. I did this. I opened a door and allowed a monster into my world. You curiously will kill you. Your curiosity will kill you, Dr. Finkelstein once told me. Maybe he was right, but instead of killing me, it's taken the man, the skeleton I love. The little town blurs from view, smeared by wetness, and I blink, just as something darts in front of me. A flash of green, of brown velvet shoes skittering away into a narrow dirt alleyway between buildings. Someone's awake. I brush my palms over my eyes, catch at last a glimpse of the figure darting into the shadows, but it takes half a second for my legs to understand what my eyes are seeing, for my body to swing itself forth to go after the small, half-sized man. He dashes behind the borders of the town through a wall of bracken fence and into a small glen where the grass grows tall and the windy stream churns over smooth river stones. I'm out of breath when I finally catch up to him. The tears dry against my cheekbones, but the tiny man doesn't seem to notice me. He climbs atop a boulder looking out over the blades of grass. "Hello," I say softly, my voice a rasp, my eyes struggling to believe that he's real and awake. "Have you seen it?" He calls back, not even looking at me, unfazed by my sudden out of nowhere appearance. He holds a hand above his eyes, scanning the glen. I step close to him through the wavy ferns and tall grass. "Seen what?" "The rainbow," he answered brusquely, his tone thick and annoyed. "It was just here. Now it's gone." I glance out over the glen. The air has a hint of rain to it, of dampness, and everything smells rich like soil, but I see no sign of a rainbow. "Why are you looking for a rainbow?" The man turns his gaze to me for the first time, and I see that his eyes are a golden color. His coiled beard glimmering copper red and the sun in the sunlight. "I'm not looking for the rainbow," he huffs, impatient. "I'm looking for the pot at the end of it." I feel my seams at the corners of my mouth pull together, confused. His whole town is asleep, and yet he's worried about the location of some rainbow. He shakes his head and hops down from the boulder, light and quick feet, landing on the soft soil. I hid the pot somewhere in the glen, and now I can't find it. He scratches at his tight curled beard, turning one side of his mouth upward as if searching the last place of his mind. "The rainbow will show me where I left it." "What's in the pot?" His eyes cast up at me, shivering in the damp sunlight. "My gold, of course," he says. Like I should already know this, as if it were obvious. It reminds me of Ruby Valentino, how she assumed I would know about Cupids and the burden of being queen, but so far I've found these other towns entirely foreign and strange, with people and customs that make no sense to me. "I haven't seen a rainbow," I answer, lifting my chin, "but I found you, and you're the only person still awake." The little man takes off his hat and suit down the cowlick at the side of his small head. But his curled red hair just springs back skyward when he lowers his hand. "I'm not a person," he corrects. "I'm a bloody leprechaun. For Pete's sake. You'd think you'd never travel before, never lay eyes on a charming fella such as myself." I clear my throat, picking at the thread along my wrist. "My apologies, sir, and I'm still awake," he continues, sharply hooking his thumb into his vest pocket, "because I'm clever, and I know where to hide so the Sandman can't catch me." "Sandman?" The words cling and rattle against my lined skull. I think of the tiny white flocks of sand covering the inhabitants of each town I visited. The Sandman. The leprechaun stuffs his hat back atop his head over the unruly cowlick. For a giant, you don't know much of anything, do you? I consider telling him that I'm not a giant, but in fact a rag doll, but I suspect the point will be lost on him. Suspect the point will be lost on him. The Sandman has put everyone to sleep, the leprechaun said, tapping his fingers to the side of his skull. And now they won't wake up. I feel my dull eyes go wide, the weight of my chest drop into my stomach. I opened a door with a moon carved in front of it. I say in a rush, the words tumbling out so quickly I hardly hear them myself. I don't know what it was, but I think my voice breaks off again. I swallow. The Sandman came from inside, and now he's loose on our towns, and I need to stop him. The leprechaun stares up at me, his mouth forming a tight little frown. You opened a door into one of the ancient realms. I squeeze my hands together, then release them. A memory surface of old me from when I still lived with Dr. Finkelstein. He kept a book in his lab, the pages torn and waxy, and inside were folk tales about ancient realms that had been forgotten, doorways that had been lost with time. I remember thumbing through the pages curiously about the fables told within. My eyes absorbed the words as quickly as they could, but before I could get through more than a few pages, Dr. Finkelstein snapped the book from my hands. This book is not for you, Sally, he sneered, placing it on his lap as he wheeled away down the dark quarters of his lab. Your time is better spent cooking me dinner than having your nose in books. Well, that's kind of sexist. Later, when I tried to ask him about the ancient realms, he shot me a glance, looked, and sent me to my room, and now I have opened one. It was an accident, I mutter, as if to convince myself. The expanding pain? But it's not just my town, I continue. It's all the other holiday towns. Everyone is asleep. You have to help me stop him. The little man makes a snort sound through his nose, like he's tiring of our conversation, of this unwanted interruption. You let him out, he says, with a sharp upturn to his mouth. Now you have to put him back. I don't know how. Neither do I. He waves his hands in the air. The ancient realms were around long before holidays ever existed. I shake my head at him, heat burning behind my eyes, but we have to wake everyone up, or the humans will never have another holiday again, and I'll lose Jack, the only one I've ever loved. If we don't stop the Sandman, St. Patrick's Day won't happen either, I say, sounding desperate, a scratching at my rib cage, and you'll be all alone forever. The little man steps towards me, raising one of his red, scraggly eyebrows, golden eyes shimmering wildly, like I have stirred up some hidden part of him. Then you have to go into his realm, he replied bluntly. Into Dreamtown. Surely someone there knows how to bring the Sandman back to where he belongs. I shake my head, turning the name over in my mind. Dreamtown, the moon-carved doorway, the heady scent of bird embroidered from the tree. They lead to the place called Dreamtown. But what if there are others like him? What if I fall asleep as soon as I step through the doorway? I don't know what's on the other side. A soft wind stirs up from the trees, and a few raindrops begin to fall from the sky. Not my problem, the little man spits. Weight clustered against my eyelids again. Desperation and fear and doubt. You will come with me, I ask. I plead. He doesn't seem at all like an agreeable traveling companion. He's short-tempered and preoccupied, but I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to go into a town I might not return from. He let out a curdled little laugh. I have better things to do, he replied swiftly. I'm not going anywhere until I find my pot of gold. You can look for it when we get back. I suggest, bending low so that my gaze meets his, looking him square in his beautiful golden eyes. I'm sure it's not going anywhere. For a moment, his frustration seems to soften. A look of pity cuts into his eyes, like he actually feels sorry for me, and maybe it will be enough to convince him to come with me. Can't let this poor ragdoll go wandering off into some dangerous world on her own. Better go with her. But his eyes flash away over my shoulders. There, he exclaims. That sneaky rainbow in the distance. Through the soft haze of rain, I can just make out the multicolored rainbow of light forming an arched rainbow in the sky, but the place where it meets the ground is hidden behind a clot of evergreen trees. I must be off, he says bluntly, tipping his hat at me, and starts to turn away, then stops, scratching his beard, considering something before bending low in the grass and plucking something from the soil. In his hand, he hands it out in his palm. Good luck, giant, he says, nodding. In his palm rests a tiny green leaf. It's a 4-leaf clover, he explains with a wink, and one that's been plucked from St. Patrick's Day town is particularly lucky. I take the green clover from his palm and hold it up to the clouded sky, marveling at the 4 perfectly rounded leaves, the smell of soil and rain resting delicately between my fingertips, and it looks just like the clover on the door into this realm. Thank you, I say, but when I glance up, he's already vanished into the thick green squash trees and falling rain. Okay, that is chapter 10. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy the music. Please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff for me. It really does help. Thank you so much, and have a good one.